Nick Bosa. The Niners love Nick Bosa. And why wouldn't you? Great work ethic, a machine when he's on the field. Kind of a scary injury history. Will the Niners make Nick Bosa the highest paid edge rusher in the NFL this offseason?
Yeah. I think they will.
You think they will?
That's going to be $30 million right above TJ Watt, but I think this is the easier deal to do because I think the Niners have been so steadfast in how they perceive him to be one of the best, if not the best defensive player in football, along with Aaron Donald. I think he's been a consummate professional, everything they've asked for. They seem to love everything about Nick Bosa. Like I don't think they've ever said anything about Nick Bosa, whether it's Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, or anything that's not like, oh, we think Bosa is the greatest player ever. Like that's how they talk about him. Yeah. And so because of that, I think he gets his money and then some. With him, actually, I think it makes more sense to wait. He's had 2 out of 4 seasons where he's had very serious injuries, going with the core muscle his final year at college, then the ACL year 2. And because with TJ Watt, the Steelers did wait 1 year. Yes. I think that it's okay with Nick Bosa to pay him after his
alienate him, right? I mean, it's totally fair business.
I think with him actually, because I knew you were going to go there after what you asked about Deebo. I think it actually does make more sense to wait, but I don't think they will. I think they'll just pay him. I think that he's a guy that I think they just like him that much. I think his negotiation is also a bit easier because I think the team and him kind of view each other the same way. His deal is going to be humongous. I mean, it's going to be humongous. It's going to be ranging to where Trent Williams' deal is. It's going to be, I mean, TJ Watt's $28 million annually. The other Bosa and Myles Garrett are 26, 27. So I'd assume Nick Bosa is going to maybe get a hair more. I don't think he reaches the 30 or crosses the 30 threshold. I think he just gets a hair more than those two guys and maybe gets up to like 28 and a half because TJ Watt's in the low 28s and he gets up to 28 and a half. But I think Nick Bosa's extension will be done and dusted this offseason. But if you're going, in my opinion, who's better to wait on, who actually makes more sense to wait on, especially because Bosa's 5th-year option pays him a lot of money, fully guaranteed, and that will be picked up 100%, no doubt about it. It would be Bosa over Deebo to me.
Yeah, and the reason we don't expect the Niners to slow play either one is that's not their pattern. They did it with Buckner, but then they didn't really hold him here against his will. Like they
didn't draft Buckner either.
Yeah, and then they were like, you know what? We're not going to keep you. Go somewhere else. We're going to send you somewhere else. Otherwise, they take pride in extending their guys, and they're eager to do it. I mean, they extended Eric Armstead after 5 years, but 1 year of elite production. They extended Jimmy Garoppolo after 7 games. They extended Kittle after 2 years of elite production, Warner after 2 years of elite production, and Deebo's had 1. And from their perspective, we've seen it. You're elite, and you're going to continue being elite. And where me and you might disagree on this, I feel like they haven't gotten the return that they probably were expecting from everyone except for Trent Williams. And the difference is Trent Williams had done it for a decade, and the other guys had done it for a year or two.
I think, to be fair, Grant, I think if we're talking in terms of total return, because I think a lot of these guys made a lot of big jumps from college or whatever. In Bosa's case, injuries aside, there's not really a question mark because he's been a high-level player since high school. He's dominated every level of football that he's played in. So you don't really have a question mark about him on the field other than these long-term injuries. In terms of Kittle, right. In terms of Kittle, I understand a little bit. I still think that, injuries have played a factor and other people becoming more prominent factors in the offense have played a little bit of factor and maybe Kittle's statistical production not looking as good. But I think he has more or less stayed around one of the 2 or 3 best tight ends in the NFL. So he's played to that. In Warner's case, I think Warner last year, I thought the second half of the season, Fred Warner was the best, back to being the best middle linebacker in football. Okay. I thought the first half of the season, you could give Darius Leonard that accolade, especially how well he was playing. Other guys like Roquan Smith, Demario Davis definitely fit into that conversation. But I thought Warner played that way. And I think Warner's contract comparable to those guys is actually one of the better contracts on this team in terms of how good he is, what he brings from being a consummate professional who's basically played every game. And
no, hold on. So you make a great point. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying the Niners were wrong to extend any of those players. I'm not saying that.
You're saying maybe they did it too early?
Maybe they just want to slow down. I'm not even saying they did it too early. But you could argue that they did. Certainly did with Jimmy. Certainly did with D Ford. Like maybe you just, for the sake of it, doing something different, slow down on Nick Bosa. So we just said there's really no, you don't have to do it this year on Nick Bosa. The Steelers didn't do it after 3 years with TJ Watt. He does have a kind of a troubling injury history. Just wait a year. It's not their pattern. Maybe you want to do things a little different.
So I think with Bosa, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Because to me, Bosa is still going to get compensated in his 5th-year option. And because the Steelers did it with TJ Watt, you have presidents that you can look to and still say this is good business because Watt got his money. And there's no doubt Bosa is going to get his money at some point. He's way too good a player. He's going to get paid, and it's going to be humongous.
Yes.
And maybe it makes even more sense for Bosa. You think that you can add to your accolades because he got kind of screwed out of the All-Pro. He got screwed out of being in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Maybe you come back, and now you don't just get a hair more than TJ Watt. You come back and you reset the entire market of what a defensive player gets because you go have a Defensive Player of the Year season. So it could
and the Niners feel great giving him the money because he just proved that he can do it year in and year out. Like, who cares? You're the Defensive Player of the Year. I'm happy to spend on you. Like, the only thing with Bosa is, like, are you going to have – he's been like 1 year on, 1 year off for like 4 years. Like, I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, he has two out of 4, right, in the last 4 years. And they've been serious injuries. And to his credit, he's made full recovery, and it's not hurt his production. He's been kicking ass. He's a hell of a player. I don't think anybody would argue that. But I do think, as much as this point that you're making will get a lot of pushback, I do think there's actually some sensibility, actually quite a bit of it, to even have this conversation. In Bosa's case, I think Bosa's deal is going to be maybe the single easiest negotiation the Niners have had, and I think that one just gets done. I think Deebo's is going to be a little bit more tricky, and I'm not saying that I don't think Deebo will get extended this offseason, but again, I don't want to rehash this, so please go to Grant's channel. There's a video on there. We talk about this exact thing for about 10 minutes, and it's because there's variables that you can argue for both sides on why X amount of money makes sense for Deebo, but the Niners should be concerned about giving him X amount of money. And it's nothing to do with how special of a player he is. It's just the nature of looking at every single variable when you're doing when you're running a business, and all those variables will be considered.
Yes, and again, if Deebo Samuel holds out for top of the market money, $30 million a year, and the Niners are not comfortable paying him anywhere near that, there are recourses. There are things they can do other than trade him.
Yeah.
If Deebo could request a trade, fine, you're not going anywhere. And I don't think he's going to hold out because it's very expensive, and he doesn't have that much money. I'm sorry, he's a 2nd-round pick. I don't think he's holding out.
And I think the other thing, right? Because like there are other things they can do. There's no
Deebo's not going to name his price.
But I don't think because of their window. Like you said, I think that trading him will be their absolute last resort. Like the Chiefs feel like their window is unlimited because of Mahomes, and you can look at specialist Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek's
older. One of the 3 or 4 best receivers in the NFL. He's a tad older, and maybe you look at a Christian Watson or Jameson Williams in this draft and say, if we put him with Mahomes and Andy Reid, I mean, Andy Reid made Deshaun Jackson was Tyreek Hill before Tyreek Hill with Andy Reid.
That's right.
And he didn't have Mahomes. He had Michael Vick. So, you could make the argument that Andy Reid can find another guy. I think Tyreek Hill is the fastest player I've ever seen. I've never seen a guy move like Tyreek Hill.
But again, he's 28. How long is he going to be the fastest dude, right?
You can make that argument. In the Niners case, they have nobody. They've shown a complete inability to be able to be functional on offense without number 19 on the field. Number 19 makes everything happen. And so if that is the case, then in my opinion, trading him is bad for the Niners because you have no proven history that you're going to find somebody that's going to replace number 19. So what you have to do to get Deebo Samuel, you have to go maybe the franchise tag route if it's very expensive.
Fine. Yeah. Because 30 million can't be more expensive than just letting him write his own check.
Yeah, I personally love these type of conversations because honestly, there's no conclusion that's really drawn from any of it other than you're just talking through every single possibility and variable. Yeah,
I
love it.
Yeah, you got to be prepared.